All right, now that we're back at my desk, I'm just going to go get those numbers you're asking for, and then I'm also going to grab you that coffee. It's double double if I remember, yes? But before I go, I want to just review this book here with you, this little booklet we've put together, because here at Honda we have such fantastic leasing programs and they're advertised so much. Most of my customers are always asking, Brandon, do I buy, do I lease? What's best for me? Well, I'm going to let you decide that, but we've put together this little booklet. I'm just going to review with you quickly before I get you those numbers. Firstly, you'll see right off the bat, leasing, well, it's something you probably already figured out, lowers your monthly payment. Just that simple. But if you look at the total cost comparison, what does that really mean to you? Well, you'll see here on this first page, we've done a little bit of math. And if you compare a 48-month finance at $622 versus a 48-month lease at $392, and then adding in the buyout, you'll see there is a bit of a difference. The 48 months at $622 works out to $29,800 and change, versus the 48 month at $392. Count that plus the buyout at the end, should you choose to keep the car, it actually ends up being $31,000. So right there, it seems more expensive, but let's look a little deeper, because I don't know that it really is. Because realistically, at the end of the day, something we say here, it's not about the payment you're making, it's about that payment you're not making. Take a look. It ends up, you actually have an additional monthly cash flow from that lower payment of almost $230. Yearly, that works out to $2,755, and over the course of the term, it's over $11,000. Yeah, but $11,000. So realistically, will the use of an extra $2,755 a year, offset that difference at the end? That's for you to decide, really. Anyway, take a look at this page. It gives you some ideas of what that extra cash flow can be used for. Obviously, paying down your mortgage, buying an RSP, paying off credit cards. Well, you can start that savings account you've always been talking about. And I know you've got two kids, one's 17, one's 14. Obviously, college or university education. An extra $2,700 and change can go a long way. And obviously, stocks and bonds investments, anything like that. So by the use of your extra cash flow, leasing will actually be able to save you money. Cool, yeah? All right. And then the other really important thing that everybody needs to really understand is collision and loss protection. A term is actually called gap protection. Basically, in the case of an accident, will car insurance cover the loss? Well, in many cases, you'll see right here, depreciation in ownership is greater than the payback from the bank. So risk of reverse equity, or called gap, which is the deficiency between the insurance settlement and the bank payout, well, this can cause an increase in your monthly payment on your replacement vehicle. So lease actually protects you in gap through its gap protection, and that's at no charge on the lease. Again, something you definitely need to consider, especially with two teenage kids. Now, another thing we always do talk about is options versus obligations. Basically, if you look at, say, 24 months of leasing versus the first 24 months of a finance contract, after 24 months of a lease, you're presented with several options. Whereas after the first 24 months of a finance contract, say, calculated over 60 months, you've still got 36 more months of obligation. And if you do some quick math on that, a 24-month lease payment is around $500. Where a 60-month buy payment or finance payment, well, it's right here, $519. So it's actually more expensive over the 60 months. And after the 24 months of the leasing, you do have an option to buy, and that works out to $16,750. Versus after the first 24 months of the finance, you still have 36 more payments to go at $519. And as you can see here, that math takes it out to $18,600, $682. So really, there's a $2,000 difference there instantly. But going back to the lease, some of the other options you may have after that first 24 months is, well, replace it with a new lease, no hassle. Sell it, and depending on where you're at, you might even make a profit. Buy it. It's obviously the best used car. And, well, you can just walk away. Avoid a loss, and then, subject to the conditions of the contract, wear and tear, etc. So again, put this in the back of your head while I walk away in a moment. Options or obligations. Now, I definitely have people ask me this question, so this reviews this. What if you need an early end to your buy or lease? Well, a lease, like any finance contract, can be terminated at any time. Now, your responsibilities, of course, you must find a buyer for your vehicle. Now, a lessor, Honda Canada, could be an immediate buyer. But with finance, well, as you've probably guessed, most banks do not buy back vehicles. Now, the sale price must be compared to a bank's payout value or the lease company's payout value. Now, if the sale price is actually greater, you'll avoid any costs, and as we talked about a moment ago, you might actually make a profit. Now, however, if the value is less, of course, you'd be required to make up the difference. Now, the latter is usually the case in the first 2/3 of any contract, whether it be lease or finance. But both programs obviously do allow for early termination, but the lease may have substantial savings in tax because the taxes aren't capitalized. I know you like that one. Now, how about going back to talking about accidents and stuff like that? A repairable vehicle accident, what are the costs? Well, here's the cool thing. Any accident where your vehicle is repaired for body or paint damage, and that will cause irregular, unexpected depreciation at trade-in time. So the owner is responsible for that cost. Now, do you want to be the owner of the vehicle that has to worry about taking that hit because you're trading in a car that's been in an accident, or do you want to just be able to walk away from that car? Because really, the lease company is the one that owns that car, so they're the ones that have to worry about it. Again, something for you to decide. And then, moving in the same direction is liability protection. In any accident, the ownership makes you responsible for any lawsuit arising from the use of the vehicle. So in many lawsuits, you see it in the paper all the time, exceed the amount of insurance the individual owner carries. So leasing definitely helps protect you from this, because the lessor carries the additional liability insurance to the owner. And so at a time of need, that's really when it helps you the most. So here, we've got a last page here just to sum up some things. At least you can definitely lower your monthly payment. Again, lower your down payment, enhance your credit line. Oh, that's a great question. Because it's a lease, it's obviously, it is a registered debt. You're making that payment, but it's not yours. So it's not a registered asset. And because it's not a registered asset, it's not a registered liability. And that's how that enhances your credit line. Obviously, you can drive more vehicle for a lower payment because, again, a finance payment on, well, look over here, this touring model is comparable to a lease payment on the exact same, let me rephrase that. If you'll take a look right here, the finance payment on the LX, the mid-level model, is almost the same as the lease payment on the touring model right over here. And then, of course, you can receive top dollar for your top value for your trade-in. What does that mean? Dollar for dollar? Are you going to get a bigger check for your trade-in? No. However, but when you're trading in your car on a purchase of another car, your trade value comes off the full price of the car. When you're trading in it on a lease, the trade-in comes off the price of the lease. So because you're not buying the entire car, you're getting more value, more savings for your trade. Yeah, right? And then, of course, as we talked about, options versus obligations. And, well, common sense tells you it has better record keeping for tax purposes, the right for early termination. And again, you're protected from deficiency through loss of a vehicle. Anyway, let me slide this book over to you while I go get you that coffee and get you those numbers. Talk soon.